Hey everyone, we're live. We're NRT Live. My name's Grace Chavez. I'm the assistant news editor and Instagram manager for newreleasetoday.com. And in case you don't know what this is, every single month I've been going live with a Christian artist, normally in coordination with their release date, but we've been changing it up a little bit. And I'm so excited today. I'm going to be talking with Roundy Drive, David Zach of Roundy Drive. They're a great band, and I'm super excited to be talking with him today. And yeah, I see he's in here, so we'll get started. And I'm going to be talking with him about their new album, Imago Amor, and it's a really great album, so go check it. All right, it says waiting. Okay. Hey!
Hey, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Good. How are you?
Doing good.
Awesome. So today we're just going to be talking a little bit about the band's new album and how the band got started and all that, so I'm excited.
Wonderful. You
So
enjoy doing these?
Oh yes, I've been doing a lot of these. I did like 12 live streams last month. So yeah, it's
Nice.
been crazy, but yeah, I love interviewing artists, so it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome.
So first, Remedy Drive has been around for quite some time now. But for those who aren't familiar with your music, could you tell us a little bit about the band?
We are a rock and roll band. My brother Philip and I started the band when we were in high school. And since then, we've just had a roller coaster for 22 years or so. We were indie for most of our career. We had a short couple years with a couple record labels in the late 2000s. And then we were indie ever since. And in the last 8 years, we've merged our rock and roll band with a counter-trafficking organization called the Exodus Road. And we use our songs to shine a light on slavery and injustice. And then our community, the Remedy Drive Nation, many of which are also followers of NRT, help us fund raids against criminal networks that are selling children against their will and teenage girls.
That's so awesome. And I was actually going to talk about that a little bit later, but we'll hit it now. You guys have been working with the Exodus Road. Could you tell us a little bit about that and what that experience has been like for you guys?
Yeah, so 8 years ago, our album Commodity came out. We left our record label to make the album. And in this amazing moment of convergence, we met Matt Parker, who founded the Exodus Road with his wife, Laura. And we thought our role was going to be singing, which it definitely is our role. I think it's an important time to tell the truth, to sing about justice. But also, I'm recruiting people to do undercover work, to do frontline work, to put their lives at risk. And I just can't do that in good conscience unless I'm willing to bleed with them, to put my life at risk with them. I like telling the stories of people around the world that do this continually, and I get the privilege of doing it. From time to time, I go overseas in Latin America, Southeast Asia. We spy on mafias, we spy on individuals sometimes, clubs, organizations that make a living off the backs of selling other people for sex. And we try to find evidence of that. When there's fraud, when there's force, when there's coercion involved, that's what sex trafficking is. We also work here in the States too.
Well, that's so awesome. I know it's so cool that you guys are using your platform for that, because I know not a lot of other bands have been doing that. So it's so awesome that you guys have used your platform for that reason. It's great.
I'm thankful for the opportunity, we spend so much time building stuff, right? Building our own little kingdoms, building our own little empires. And I have this platform, and it can seem insignificant. Just like the platform of New Release Today can seem insignificant. It's only so many people that we can influence. Why wouldn't you want to use that little bit of influence you have?
For sure.
Whether it's millions or whether it's a dozen, to nudge people towards justice, to nudge people towards freedom and mercy and compassion. I think that's the way of the kingdom. I know that's the way of the kingdom, not just because I read it in scripture so consistently, but because that reality, that's the way of the kingdom. It's written on your heart. It's the way you were formed.
Yeah, that's so good. And when I joined New Release Today and I had heard about human trafficking and all that, I thought it was so important to write an article about the End It movement and that. So I've been trying to use my platform for that, and I know everyone else can do the same wherever you are. And if it's on your Instagram page or your blog, whatever it is, you can use your platform, whatever it is, to share that light. It's good.
Because all it is, it's currency.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a currency that people attach to songwriters, to musicians, but we all have a currency. And the currency of my life is going to look a little bit different than the currency of your life, but you're going to spend that currency on something.
Yeah.
What if it's possible to invest the currency of my songs, my voice, your time, your camera lens, your political capital, your moral capital? What if you can invest that currency on the most vulnerable people in our communities?
Mm-hmm. That's so good. Then you guys just released your 13th full-length album, Imago Amor. What's the inspiration behind that album?
So just like the two that preceded it, Imago Amor is the third in a counter-trafficking trilogy. And so the inspiration is the lyric itself is informed by the work we do around the world. It's informed by real people, real refugees running from violence that we want to assist, real enslaved people, conversations I've had with traffickers while undercover, conversations some of my friends have had with girls that have been trafficked. A lot of that ended up, like, especially the song Blue, the last song. But then at the same time, the belief that I have that anybody that I come in contact with carries this sacred flame inside of them in the deepest core of their being. Mm-hmm. In a very precise and fearful and intricate and wonderful way, there's this design that I have, that you have, that we all have, this design that we can forget that the person we're responding to on social media, for instance, also bears that image, right? That Imago Amor. Imago, Latin for the image of, and amor being love, and from Spanish. And we forget that it's so easily to let politicians, to let influential people, demagogues and preachers oftentimes, instead of merely recognizing that this is someone that's formed so intricately and purposefully, we attach these other labels to them, and we're able to treat this person differently. The only way we're able to treat somebody differently, in the way we have so often throughout all of our history, is if we reduce them to something other than someone created in this beautiful, intricate image of love that the Creator took so much time fashioning. And in history, you find words like savages or heathens or pagans or all these awful ways to describe someone else, rather than say, no, this is simply another human being. Mm-hmm. And I hope that this album, when someone hears it, that it contributes to helping remind ourselves of the planet's loveliness and of our own loveliness and of beauty in general.
So good. And then, kind of on that same subject, I know the song Lovely has a great message behind it. Could you tell us the story behind that song?
I was in Latin America about a year ago, and there's so many families right now in Venezuela that they might send a few representatives from their families out into neighboring countries to try to send food home. And that's the same case all over the world right now, whether it's families from Myanmar sending a representative over into Thailand to try to work illegally to send money home, or families from Central America that are facing a ton of violence because of the lust for cheap drugs in America, and 90% of the cocaine coming up through Mexico, coming into America, and these families fleeing that violence that's caused largely in part because of my society, right? Mm-hmm. The culture I live in. And you see that all over the world for different reasons. You know, Syrian mothers putting their kids on rafts coming across the Mediterranean Sea, just trying to find safety somewhere, and having to do really risky and dangerous things in order to find safety, in order to try to give opportunity, in the way that all of us, in ways, you know, we can look back somewhere in our history, a family member took a risk for us. And the difficulty that I experienced face to face in Latin America is a lot of these are teenage girls sometimes, you know, desperate, just looking to try to help their family. Maybe they're 20 and they have a baby back home. They come across a bridge, and one of the first things a lot of them do is cut their hair and sell their hair. And then without any options, they're so desperate. Without loving people, they're just saying, hey, we're here to help you on any of these borders. Loving people say, we want to help you. We're not concerned with everything else other than you. You are lovely. You are important. They get trapped by traffickers who take advantage of the misery, take advantage of the desperate situation that these young girls find themselves in, take advantage of the fact that the governments of different nations have cruel and inhumane policies towards the most vulnerable people on the planet, the people group that Scripture mentions 2,100 times over and over again, saying you have a responsibility if you claim to follow the way spoken of by Jesus Christ and following that ethic, following that, then you have a responsibility to these beautiful people. And so I meet them there, and they're being sold by traffickers in brothels, on the street, in massage parlors. And there's things I wish I could say to that girl. She's guilty. One girl had a cross, and in Spanish to one of my friends, she wrote in Google Translate, translated in English, may he who knows my sin remember me someday. And I want to tell her story, and I want to sing it as loud as I can to tell the world that, and to tell her what I can't tell her. I want more for you than this life. I want more than this emptiness inside. There's a life that exists outside of this, love. Can I lift your listless eyes up? So that lyric comes from several really difficult conversations I had with girls that had gone through everything I just described.
Yeah, it's so crazy like that. That's our world. And I mean, it's so great that you're able to help those people out and lift them up. And that's so important. And I'm glad that these songs have a way to do that. And it's so good.
And we can't always help them. That's what you're going to see on this album. I think for me, this album I wrote for me, because I as much as I want to, there's 40 million people enslaved, and the journey towards freedom of 1,500 people so far, which that's exciting. But these songs are hopeful in that there has to be some, there's, in the midst of all this tragedy, there's still beauty and there's still hope.
Yeah, I think you froze up just for a second. Oh wait, no, you're good now. Okay. It's loading screen for a second, but we're good now.
You froze.
Oh, that's weird.
I'm kidding. That's what I'll say. I always say that to my kids when we're FaceTiming. I say, you're frozen. I say, you're frozen.
Good way to confuse them. So what's next for Remedy Drive in 2021? I know you guys just released this album. Is there any other projects you're working on?
We are waiting for when it's right to tour again, hopefully, with expectation, holding all the future plans loosely, like we were supposed to anyways. It's a good sacramental reminder to hold plans loosely. We're going to keep on working with the Exodus Road. I plan on going overseas as much as I can. Hopefully we'll do some live streams with the full band eventually. We haven't done that yet. I played the whole Amago Amor on piano, just me, the other night.
Oh, nice.
That was a fun challenge.
Awesome. Nice. And then this is always the interesting part of NRT Live that I do. I always ask the artists rapid fire questions. Are you down for that?
I'm ready.
Okay. Favorite song that you've written?
Caravan Princess.
Nice. That's a good one. And then favorite restaurant?
My favorite restaurant in the world is a place called Bus Stop, and it's in the heart of one of the largest red light districts in Bangkok, Thailand. But it's the best green curry you'll ever get anywhere. Nice.
And then favorite movie?
The Cloud Atlas.
Never heard of it. I'll have to look that up.
The Wachowski siblings, the same siblings that did the Matrix series, they did the Cloud Atlas, and it's just the most confusing 3-hour movie I've ever watched in my life. It's rough. Yeah, it's rough, but it led me to this work.
Yeah, I'm more familiar with Disney movies. I don't watch a ton of movies, but Disney movies are my favorite. And then favorite place that you've ever traveled to?
Um, there's an island off the coast of Cambodia called Koh Chang,
Hmm.
and I've been there with my wife. I've also been there with the Exodus Road. It's
Oh,
just an
super cool.
amazing island. It's like totally, and it's inexpensive too to get to. Rode a motorcycle all the way around the whole. Well, we tried to get all the way around the whole island. We ended up stumbling on this beach at the bottom that was the most secluded, other than a German couple that was sunbathing, complete sunbathing. They
Um,
they got out of there quick when we showed up on our motorbikes. But um, I've never seen such a, it feels like it's another time and place. It almost feels like a different planet.
that's super cool. And then kind of an interesting question, but what musician has influenced your music the most?
Hmm. I mean, I think it would be obvious, but Bono from the band U2.
Hmm.
Second most, John Foreman and Switchfoot. And then they're musicians lyrically with prose, but C.S. Lewis and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. would be the next two as well.
Awesome. And then what's your favorite Bible verse?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it in that way. I would say I'm not good at like numbers and stuff, like where the
Hmm.
numbers are, but in Amos, in what we call the fifth chapter, he says, and it's quoted in my song "Using Your Name in Vain," something along the lines of, and this is a rough paraphrase, but he says, quoting God, he says, "I hate your songs.
Hmm.
I hate your worship music. I'm plugging my ears when you pray because you plugged your ears to the cries of the poor.
Hmm.
So stop singing. Stop with all your public prayers and revival events, and instead go and bring me justice for the poor, and then come
Hmm.
back. Let's make a
Yeah.
deal. Then we'll have a bargain, and then sing, but go do justice first."
Hmm. So
And
good.
by favorite, it's not like I like that because
Hmm.
it cuts me to the core of my heart,
Yeah.
but I think it's the most important thing I've ever read in
Hmm.
Scripture. It's echoed in Isaiah 58 and other places too. It's not very
Yeah.
popular, obviously,
Hmm.
because we just care about singing and building really big church buildings. And we really, if you look at the way we spend our money, we have some crumbs left over to give to enslaved people,
Hmm.
crumbs to give to hungry people, single mothers that need health care and medicine and childcare. We have crumbs left
Hmm.
for them, maybe 2% of our budget.
Yeah.
So I think it's an important, I wish it was more people's favorite passage.
Hmm.
But
It's ironic that you mentioned John Foreman when you said that verse because I know he had this song based off that, like older one, but
yeah, he said to me that people said, "Man, that's a real cynical thing to say." And he's like, "I didn't say
yeah.
it."
Yeah.
But it's not
And
popular, man. It's not popular
hmm.
to talk that way. My
Yeah,
album, Amago
definitely.
Amor, Amago Amor will never work in the Christian industrial complex because I'm quoting the prophets, and it's not popular to quote the prophets. What did they do to the
Hmm.
prophets? They stoned them. They threw rocks at
Yeah.
them until they died. Man, I'm getting hit in the head with proverbial stones. With
Hmm.
even quoting Dr. King recently, and I mean, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had such angst against Christian nationalism. He called it idolatry,
Hmm.
right? And I just quoted him. I didn't put any. I just quoted that quote, and the amount of people that said they're going to boycott us or to
Yeah.
cancel us because we quoted that particular. There's an idolatry that's snuck in and has
Hmm.
infected our culture, and you're a culture maker,
Yeah.
you know, so am I. And we have a responsibility to nudge back against that. But
Hmm.
it's really easy and it's very popular to embrace that sort of us against them culture warrior thing.
Hmm.
I don't want any part of that. And there's an important part of this album that says, "Hey, let's come together. Let's have unity. Let's move forward together." But that unity has to be a unity that's centered on justice
Hmm.
and honesty and truth. Like the same people that are crying about the Ten Commandments being taken down from public spaces are the same people that are breaking most of them, but specifically the one that says don't bear false witness. And the amount of platformed evangelicals right now bearing false witness for a living is startling.
Yeah.
And nobody, we all have too much to lose to say anything about it. And it's become kind of a laughing stock for the rest of the world to look in and say, oh, obviously they never really believed what they said they believed. When push comes to shove, they're really all about their own rights and privileges. They always have been. I'd love to change that narrative. It's a true criticism. It's a true critique, but we can change it. That's what I'm hopeful about. We can change it.
So good. And then I know you talked a lot about the Exodus Road and all that, and obviously there's a lot there that we can be praying for, but how can we be praying for you and the band?
Timmy Jones, who drummed on this album, just had a baby boy. My brother Philip just had a baby girl about a year ago. All of us are having to get creative with how to feed our families right now, without being able to tour with in an ethical and moral fashion. You could pray that that these songs find avenues. You know, they're not going to find their way on radio, but there's other avenues for them to reach people, and that our music will continue to rally a community of loving and generous people under the banner of freedom. And that's really my goal for recruiting people to join us in the abolition movement and other movements of justice and mercy. Yeah.
Well, it's so great getting to talk with you, and I'll definitely be praying about that and for your ministry. And I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Bye.
Everybody.
It was so great getting to talk with David today, and I'm doing this every single month, and not sure who I'm having on next month, but just keep an eye on our social media pages, and we'll keep you all informed on that. And until then, I hope you all have a great day, and you can go listen to Imago Amor now wherever you stream your music. And yeah, keep an eye on our social media pages for more information about these live streams. And we also have the We Love Awards that's coming up on February 23rd. We're having the award show, and you can check all that out at weloveawards.com. And until then, bye guys.